Alright, in this video we're going to run through how we get the presets into the Behringer, into the sound system, and we have to use the laptop. And so, first of all, on the laptop you want to connect to the Behringer, so you got to go to Wi-Fi, and you've got to select either XR18 if we're using the router, or the fuller XR18 5A, B585, whatever. That's what I've got it set to right now, so we're going to connect to it. And once it connects, we'll be able to open up Xair down here, that Xair Edit app, and you're going to say, yes, I want to connect, and it's fine to just keep the mixer PC settings. So it's transferring from the mixer, from the Behringer, to my computer, and so now my computer is running the sound. So let's say you've got a different worship team than is displayed here. So you've got different singers and different instruments going on. You can load the presets into here. So let's say, for example, Megan is singing this week, and we want her in channel 1 maybe. So we're going to click on channel 1. So you can click on the different channels. Click on channel 1 and go up to load. And you're going to load a channel preset. This should automatically take you to all the presets here. And let's find Megan. We already have a preset for her voice. And so we're going to open that, and those presets get put in the sound system. And so you can do that with other vocals and other instruments. We've got different types of instruments. Let's say that we've got, instead of acoustic, let's say we've got a banjo. I believe we have a channel preset for that. We do. We're going to click on banjo, and that's going to go in here. Now, if you want to change colors, I tend to like red for vocals, green for instruments, and yellow for like percussion stuff, like drums and cajon. You can right-click and change the name, change the color, whatever you want to do there. Another thing you can do is we can get the full drum set in here. We've got presets for each individual drum. So we've got kick, and let's put here, we've got snare. We're going to load in the B-tom. Oops. I'll just click on it right there. The B-tom or big tom, and overhead. All right, so we've got, let's say this is our worship setup here. One more thing is, if you're not using a channel, you can decide to just exit out of it and do that, so it just shows up as a black number, and that's kind of showing that, okay, we're not using this channel. Let's bring it down. Okay, once you get that, you want to probably set up your vocals, your instruments, and your drums in the same DCA group and mute group. So the DCA groups allow you to have just one fader for the vocals, and for the instruments, and for the drums, and for the wireless microphones, the teaching microphones and stuff that tend to be on 14 through 16, channels 14 through 16. And so to do that, you're going to click on each channel, and you're going to go to main. Main up here allows you to select the DCA group and the mute group. So Megan's already set on 1. Mitchell's voice and Shaylin's voice are all on 1. Banjo is set to 2. And so is bass. So are the pads. Now, we just decided to get rid of these 2 channels, so I like to just take them out of both of these things entirely, so they don't get muted and unmuted with other things, and they don't get turned up and down for no purpose. Now we're going to the drums. We typically like drums on DCA group 3 and mute group 3. So you can select those and get those presets in there. And I always just check all the channels just in case. 13 isn't assigned to anything, so that's good. Oh, and we've got these microphones. 2 of them are assigned, but it looks like we missed the blue mic assignment, so we're going to do that there. The other things you need to take a look at are the sends up here. This is where the sound is going and what part of the sound is going to what place. So buses 1 and 2 are our two monitor channels, and then bus 3 is the subwoofer. And so for everything, we want pre-fader for buses 1 and 2 and post-fader for bus 3. And so we're just going to take a look and see if that's set up. Oh, banjo's not set up that way. We'll select post-fader for the bus 3. These two channels don't matter. Alright, kick is good. Oops, snare is off. Ooh, the big tom is off entirely, so we're going to switch that over. And the overhead. Red mic, blue mic, wireless, computer. So that's all good. Another thing you need to be aware of is that any instrument that uses one of those condenser mics needs to be needs to use phantom power. And so the channel that would be using that would be our overhead channel. Our overheads for our drums normally use those condenser mics. And we're going to go to channel, and we already see that phantom power is selected. But let's say it wasn't. We select that right there. That allows that microphone to work. You can select it here, or you can select it, of course, on the tablet. I also saw in the Grader Mixer that this channel has phantom power set up, and we probably don't want that. We'll just take it out of channels that don't need phantom power. So we got phantom power going. Now the other consideration is what instruments are going to the subwoofer. We typically only have our lower frequency instruments going to the subwoofer. So most of the times it's either like a kick drum or like the back of the cajon, the lower sound, and the bass guitar, or something that's acting like a bass guitar, such as the cello sometimes will act like that. And so once again, the subwoofer is in bus 3, so we can select bus 3, and these are the instruments that are going to the subwoofer. The computer runs through the subwoofer because we want the lower part of any audio coming out of the computer to be going through the sub. And the kick drum is already set up to run through the sub. I take things out that don't need to be there, such as channel 7, and it looks like our bass is set up in the sub quite nicely. I like to stay around 0 for most of these. That typically sounds pretty good. And everything else should be out of the sub. We shouldn't have any other instruments running through the sub. Otherwise, you're going to get some really weird low frequencies from like a voice or something in the subwoofer, and that's going to sound really, really bad. Once you've got all of your settings the way that you want them to be, you're going to do two things. One, you're going to save the scene. And you can save the scene here. We're just going to save it as a test. That means that if everything goes crazy, we've at least saved the settings somewhere so that we can reload them into the Behringer if we have to. But then the other thing that we want to do is we want to create a snapshot. So we click on snapshot, and we can name that whatever we want. There are 22, I think. No, there are more. There's 64 potential snapshots you can make. We only make one per week. So I always just select number 1 right there, and I save over the top of number 1. And that means that once you get the tablet out, you can tap on snapshot and you can go to snapshot number 1 labeled test, or normally it's going to be labeled the date of that 801, and you can press load on the tablet and it's going to load it into the Behringer. So if you lose presets for some reason, that's a good way to get them back. And so then once you've loaded in presets, you're done with the laptop and you don't need it anymore, and you can run things off of the tablet just fine.